Shalom Lekulam, and welcome to our class number 12 on the book of Zohar. We continue with the article in the prologue of the Zohar called The Letters of Rabbi Hamnuna Saba. And today we're going to cover the letters samech. Hopefully we're going to cover the letters samech, nun, mem lamed, chaf, and if we have time, we may enter to the what we call the inner aspects of the letter, in this case, Zeir Anpin. So, in the previous lesson, we were talking about how, basically from kuf reshin to basically it's all Malchut, and how these letters actually cling to the forces of Tumah, the forces of impurity, and also how the Sadi, when it connects to Malchut, it creates the word Sadik, the word righteousness, right? And that's only when it receives, the light all the way from Bina, and it's trying to it connects in order to transmit the light of Hogma, to the light of Or Hasidim, to Malchut. But then it stops, by the Shin, by Zeir Anpin, okay? So that's something that we need to keep in mind. Then we were talking about the Pei and the Ain, and how these two letters were not chosen. It was because of the Pesha and the Avon, which are words in Hebrew for basically kind of like a sin, a level of a sin, Avon, and Pesha is transgression. So somehow the forces of Tumah, the forces of impurity, still can cling to these two letters, and that's why they were not chosen for to be actually the basis of the foundation of creation. Okay, and today we're gonna start with the samech, the nun, the mem, the lamed, the chaf, and hopefully we cover also the yod, so we can finish the outer aspects, and then we can study the letters in the inner aspect through the article of Rabbi Hamnuna Saba. So, like every lesson, we're gonna start with an intention. Remember, the intention is to not only gain knowledge, not only to understand what the Zohar is telling us, but also to connect ourselves with the other parts of our soul, which is other human beings, and to try to bring the light down to us so we can be a light in the darkness of so other people can see what the Creator has in storage for all of us, what is in potential for humanity to become. Okay, and when you look at this letter, if you're looking at the screen right now, make sure you scan this letter. Don't try to read them. Just scan each of these letters, and you're gonna scan them from your right to your left. Okay, I'm gonna give you a few seconds to do that, and while you do that, I'm gonna then read the prayer for the study of the Zohar by the Ari. A prayer from the Ari, to be recited before the study of the Zohar. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, the Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our forefathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy works, and you enable us to take part in the secret of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such big favor, which is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all our sins, and that they should not bring separation between you and us. And may it be your will before you, our God and the God of our forefathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you. And may you listen to our utterances and open our closed hearts to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor. as the aroma of sweet incense, and may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being, and may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you reveal your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study, and by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as it is stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so that I will see wonders from your Torah. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. May the utterances of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God my strength and my redeemer. Okay, so we're gonna start with the study. It's gonna be on item 28 if you're using the Baal HaSulam commentary. Also, you're gonna see in the top I have the regular Zohar, Zohar 1, page 38. But if you have the Sulam commentary, it's gonna be in the prologue, item 28. And if you are wondering where can I find the Zohar or anything like that, the closest version to the Hebrew version of the Sulam commentary is the Kabbalah Center Zohar, and it's number, each item is numbered exactly as in the Hebrew Sulam commentary. Okay, just in case you're wondering which Zohar can you use for this study. But any Zohar, if you know where you are, and you've been following since the beginning, any Zohar will work. Even I think it's Press Zohar, even though they cut some of the like hidden books at the Idra Hrava and things like that, not there, but most of it is there. So it says, the letter Samech appeared before the Creator and said, Master of the universe, may it please you to create the world with me, because I am able to support those who fall. As it is written, the Lord supports all who stumble, and make all who are bent stand straight. He said to it, this is exactly why you should stay in your place and not move from it. If you leave your place in the world, and the word samech means support, samech, what will then happen to all those who fail and are being supported by you? The letter Samech then left immediately. So the word for those who are fallen, which is right here, is the word Nephilim. If you eliminate the lamed, right, you just give the word, highlight it so you can see what I'm talking about. Start with the letter Nun, and that's the next letter after that we're going to study Samech. The next letter is going to be the letter Nun, and keep in mind that the letter Nun is the first letter for the word Nephilim, which means falling. Okay, so the letter Samech is Tifaret of Zeir Anpin of Atzilut. It is also known, and this might confuse some people if you're not in advanced Kabbalah. It's also known as the Bina in the body of Zeir Anpin. Why? Because the Sefirot Keter, Hogma, and Bina were transformed into Chesed, Geburah, and Tifaret. Okay, so these Keter, Hogma, and Bina are transformed into Chesed, Geburah, and Tifaret. So basically, what you got, Keter takes the place of Chesed, Hogma the place of Geburah, and Bina the place of Tifaret. Okay, simple way to explain that. If I go further, I'm sure a lot of people are gonna be confused. And when the Sefirot Keter, Hogma, and Bina were transformed into Chesed, Geburat, Tiferet, and Zeir Anpin, they were empty of the light of Hogma, and they were only left with light of Hasidim, and this is why their name was changed from Keter, Hogma, Bina to Chesed, Geburat, Tiferet. Bina has two parts, as we have studied before. This is Bina, has two parts, has a Gar and a Sat. It has a 3 in the top that are not egoistic, and 7 in the bottom that are kind of like egoistic or that can be worked with. Okay, the upper part of Bina, we got Abba Ve'ima. Bina is included in there. The lower part of Bina, which is the Sat, is considered Yeshud. The upper part of Abba Ve'ima is actually the Hogma and Bina itself, but Bina with only the 3 Sefirot. And they are filled with Or Hasidim. They exist in a state of perfection in this area over here because those are vessels of bestowal. Okay, and for Abba Ve'ima, the letter samech, it's designated to this because it has the numerical value of 60. For they include the first 3, which is Keter, Hogma, and Bina, and the 3 Sefirot of Zeir Anpin. And because there's no or Hogma in Zeir Anpin, they're not called chaf or Keter, Hogma, Bina, but rather Hagat, which is Chesed, Geburat, and Tiferet. And in this way, Abba Ve'ima consists of 6 Sefirot, each consisting of 10, and this equals to 60, which is equal to the letters samech, to the numerical value of the letter samech. So this, the Sat Devina, which is the 7 lowers of Bina, receive the light from above and pass it down to the lower ones, which is Zeir Anpin and Malchut. This area here has the properties of Zeir Anpin rather than Bina. So if you look at Yeshud is basically kind of like a preconception of the lower Parsufim. It's like a upper Zeir Anpin and Malchut in here, okay? And then Gar de Bina is the Keter, Hogma, Bina of Bina, and then the 7 lower one is basically the Zeir Anpin and Malchut, which are 7 Sefirot anyway, okay? So it's they're called Yeshud, which is Yeshud comes from Israel Saba, which is Zeir Anpin, with Tevuna. Tevuna is it's Malchut or the Nukba. The Parsuf Yeshud is designated with the letter Mem that has a numerical value of 40 because it consists of 4 Sefirot, which are Tiferet, Nesat, Hod, and Yesod of Parsuf Abba Ve'ima, of Abi. So because of this, you know, the shape of the letter when it's like when the letter is in its final form, is a closed mem. It's like a square box basically, and it's called mens tuma, meaning a closed mem. It's closed, and that's basically the secret there is like that there's another restriction that is on there. That's why you see, you know, the part Sa, that's Silut. That's where Abba Ve'ima actually divide Bina into the 3 upper and the 7 lower, which is Yeshud. Then Yeshud itself has a tabur, which is another restriction in which the light then passes to Zeir Anpin and Malchut, but there's a restriction right there, okay? So that's why it's called, closed. However, this separation of Abba Ve'im into two parts, the have basically no light of Hogma, but only the light of Hasidim. This after that, the area that is called here Abba Ve'ima, which is in perfection, the other one, because it somehow senses that perfection, the upper one feels that it lacks this or Hogma. And because of this sensation of separation or imperfection from the upper ones, they basically kind of like suffer, feel the lack, or something like that. But to those below, in order to improve their intentions, which we've been talking in the beginning of every lesson, we gotta make sure we keep our Kabbalah, right? Intentions. These intentions are called actions in the spiritual realm. So when I am, just to make sure that this concept is understood, let's say this is a cup of, let's say the Kiddush cup of Shabbat, right? After I do the prayer and everything, I drink the cup, right? It's a physical action. I do it because it's being prescribed like that by the rabbis, ancient rabbis. It's being done and passed down, from different traditions, as this is the way we do it. But if I drink the cup and that's it, and I do the prayers and that kind of stuff, and there's no intention, no spiritual intention, no reason of why this is a symbolism of something else, if I'm not concentrating on that, it's just a physical action with no meaning, and it's just like if you were working, okay? And but if there's an intention behind it, I'm taking the cup, I made a prayer, I drink, and I basically, as I'm drinking, as I'm doing the prayer, I'm concentrating on the reason or the symbolism of this action that I'm performing right now. I'm also doing an action in the spiritual realm, okay? So in this way, when we maintain our kavanah or intention, when we're doing actions in this physical realm, we're also performing an action in the spiritual realm. In this way, we're not only doing something here because it's egoistic, because I want to see myself as a Kabbalist, or see myself as a Jewish, or see myself of any other religion or any mystical thing, wearing the kippah, that kind of stuff. It's all actions that it doesn't have an intention. It's just physical action. It's just working. It doesn't do anything in the spiritual realm. With a proper intention, it does something in the spiritual realm. And in this way, we are transforming the impure forces in us into pure forces, the egoistic forces in us into pure forces in us, okay? And this is basically what is happening in here, is that when those below, which are us, and in this case we're going to talk about Zeir Anpin and Malchut, improve their intentions and ask Zeir Anpin for help in correcting their actions, overcoming the egoism of impure desires, and acquiring spiritually pure altruistic desires, Zeir Anpin then makes a request, as a question, right, to Yeshut. And Yeshut in turn, brings a question to Avi. This is raising the feminine waters, remember? And or making a real prayer, the real meaning of a prayer. Then Avi, Abba Ve'ima, here, send the request even higher, receive the light of Hogma and pass it to Yeshut. And then Yeshut and Avi unite into one parsuf. So now it's not 7 lower and the 3 upper of Bina. Now this whole thing, Ava Bahima and the whole Zeir Anpin becomes one full parsuf, full of light. And then what's happening is the following. Yeshu becomes as perfect as Ava Bahima, filled with Or Hasidim. Then this life of Hogma is passed down to Zeir Anpin, and then Zeir Anpin passes it to Malchut. The light that Malchut received from Zeir Anpin is referred to as 100 blessings. For samech, which is 60, Zeir Anpin has 6 Sefirot. Each 6 Sefirot has 10 Sefirot, which is 60. Malchut, as we mentioned before, has 4 parsufim, each of them consisting of 10 Sefirot. So this is joining basically the samech with the mem, which is 100. So that's what Malchut received. Remember that each of these Sefirot that we see is also a tree of life. Okay. However, when a person commits a transgression with intentions, wrong desires, or bad actions and things like that, this person does not turn Malchut into a way that it will do a request to Zeir Anpin, and then that request is going to go higher and higher in order to receive the Or Hasidim. And when that happens, then Zeir Anpin, from being in Gadlut, which is a greatness, which is, by giving basically this whole system being full of light, Zeir Anpin then, as we mentioned before, separates somehow from Malchut, or doesn't give light to Malchut, and this is where the exile actually happened. So what happens is the following. The life of Hogma then disappears from Zeir Anpin. Zeir Anpin returns from Gadlut back to a Katnut, which is a small state, and the united parsuf of Bina is once more divided into Avi and Yeshud. So Avi and Yeshud, they become one parsuf when they receive that light, and that's when they become one full parsuf, when it's full of light like that with the Or Hasidim. They can pass the light of Hogma to Zeir Anpin and Malchut. But then when there's a transgression here, then the system looks exactly like we see here, a division. There's a division. There's a restriction in which Ava Ve'ima then divide into Keter Hogma, Gag Devina, and then those below, which are the vessels of reception, is Sat Devina, the 7 lower Sefirot of Vina, with Zeir Anpin and Malchut in the bottom. Now, in this small state of Katnut, Zeir Anpin and Malchut are in danger of the impure forces, this klipot, right? To make certain that this does not happen, because they might fall from the world of Atzilut below the Parsa into the world of Biyah. Remember, this is the Parsa, this is the world of Biyah. Avi sends the property of samech, which is the life of mercy. And although it is only the light of Hasidim without the light of wisdom, without or Hogma, it provides Zeir Anpin and Malchut with the sensation of perfection in acts of bestowal, and thus these impure forces cannot connect to Zeir Anpin and Malchut. Because what these klifot, what these impure forces want to do is to receive the light of Hogma. If there's absence of light of Hogma and there's only light of mercy, then they cannot connect to that Sefirot. This is why this light is called samech when Zeir Anpin is in Katnut, because samech supports Zeir Anpin and Malchut so that they wouldn't fall from the word of Hasilu down below the parsa to the words of Bia. Okay, so now we can understand why it says the Lord supports all who stumble and makes all who are bent stand straight. And this is why the Creator answers, this is exactly why you should stay in your place and not move from it. Okay? Because the role of samech is to support those who fall and to protect the lower ones in times of their spiritual descent and needs. Okay? Now, if Zeir Anpin Malchut don't stimulate the lower ones, which is the people, the souls, of Adam, to raise, this mind of being, to raise man, to make this request for help, for the Gadlut, for the redemption to the upper one, then the upper light will not come down, will not descend, and help the creatures do the proper corrections and reach the redemption that we're supposed to reach. The latter samech must support the lower ones until they merit more. But when they do merit, they will be able to receive what is called 100 blessings into their entire parsuf. The entire parsuf means us, okay, individually and as a group as well. And this is why the Creator refused to create the world with the samech, because it needed right there in that place in order to support the lower ones. Because the lower ones need samech only in their katnut, in their smallness. In the absence of light of wisdom or Hogma, sun needs you and you can help them. However, they need you only in their smallness, in their katnut, but you do not help to bring them into perfection. And so you cannot be the basis of the world. This is basically like the Creator telling samech, this is the reason I didn't choose you. You gotta stay where you are, but you cannot bring redemption, complete redemption yet. Now, the letter Nun. The letter Nun entered and stood before him, saying, Master of the universe, may it please you to create the world with me, because the phrase fearful in praises, Norat Hilot, starts with me. In the words of the righteous, it is pleasant to sing glorious praise. Praise in Hebrew is Naba. He said, Nun, go back to your place. It is because of you that the letter samech returned to its place, and you should depend on it for support. To fall is Nephilah, hence fall, support Nun samech. It immediately left his presence and returned to his place. So remember we mentioned, about the letter, remembering the letter Nun is the first letter in the word Nephilim, the fallen ones, right? Nephilim. It's for this reason, it's for this letter, the letter Nun, that the Creator didn't choose samech. Also, the letter Nun is the letter that is also attached to the Yod to make the letter Sadik. So these two letters, the Nun and the Yod, were actually put together. Nun and Yod were put together back to back in order to protect their back, because they're prone to basically the evil forces or impure forces, can get to them. So the letter Nun represents Gebura. So right there it tells us, the letter Nun represents Gebura, Zeir Anpin of Atzilut. Gebura represents not only severity, it's also restriction. So when the Creator, when this letter saw that the Creator sent the letter samech away, because the properties of the letter samech were only in Kadnut, it wasn't in adulthood, which is Gadlut, which is the whole system is full of light. And only, we say that only in Kadnut the letter samech can support the fallen. The letter Nun came and thought that the Creator's refusal to samech does not apply to the Nun. The Sephirah of Zeir Anpin, called Gebura, it's also represented by the Nun. And Because of being Gebura, severity, it mitigates Bina's property of mercy, which is called the 50 gates of Bina. It is with this property of the 50 gates of Bina that it gives Zeir Anpin the name Norate Hilot, great praises. Ima, which is Bina, right? Bina is called Tehillah, praise. And since Gebura descends from Bina, because it's in the same column, it is referred to as Norah, Tehilot, even though the Nun is used in the Sephirah Yesod, in the Gadlut of Zeir Anpin during the coupling or Sivug with Nukba, like Ima. This is when Nukba receives the name Tehillah, while Zeir Anpin becomes one with both Tehilot, Ima, and Nukba. Okay? This is kind of advanced, I expect you to understand that, but I will read it again to make sure that if you miss anything, you understand. The Sephirah Gebura in Zeir Anpin is called Nun, for it is entirely mitigated by Bina's property of mercy called Nun, or 50 gates of Bina. It is this property of Gebura that gives Zeir Anpin the name Norah Tehilot. Ima, which is Bina, is called Tehillah, and since Gebura descends from Bina, it is referred to as Norah Tehilot. While Nun is used in the Sephirah Yesod, and you know how? Tzaddik, remember the Tzaddik? In the Gadlut of Zeir Anpin, which is when the light of Hogma is covered with Or Hasidim and fills the whole, all the Parsufim, right? In Gadlut of Zeir Anpin during his Sivug with Nukva, during the union with the Nukva, with the Malchut, like Ima, this is when the Nukva receives the name Tehillah, while Zeir Anpin becomes one with both Ima and Nukva, which is both Tehillah and Tehilot. Okay? And the letter Nun said that being in Gebura, the left line of Zeir Anpin, it attracts the light of mercy emanated by the samech, right? Which is Bina, which is also called the Oper Tehillah, Tehillah Ilah. As a result, Zeir Anpin acquired the properties and the name of Norah Tehilot to match them. This is why Nun has all the properties of samech, the light of mercy that bestows perfection and repels forces or desires that are impure. So this is what the letter Nun said. However, I have an additional advantage, and that I am used during the big step of Zeir Anpin in his Yesod, in the letter Tzaddik, of which I am the left element. This Nun in the letter Tzaddik is that name Nun that is defined as Norah Tehilot, praise of the righteous. For even when Zeir Anpin achieves Gadlut during the ascent of Zon, means Zeir Anpin and Nukva, to Avi, Nun also acts as Yesod of Zeir Anpin, connecting Nukva back to back with Zeir Anpin, so that Zeir Anpin receives the light of mercy from Abba Ve'ima, which is samech. So the Creator, says Baha'u'llah, the Creator answer to the Nun was the following: you're wrong in thinking that you married to lead the world to complete correction by your properties, without the clinging of the impure forces. For even your properties need to be supported by the letter samech. Indeed, this is precisely why you are connected back to back with the letter yod. On the light of samech guards you against the clinging of the impure forces unto you. And that is why your properties, which rely upon the strength of samech, are merely ones of support. Hence, you are unworthy of becoming the basis of the world. Then, another letter came in, and this letter was the letter Mem. And the letter Mem entered and said to him, Master of the universe, may it please you to create the world by me, because with me you are called Melech. He told it, yes, it is so, but I shall not create the world with you, because the world needs a king. Go back to your place, you and the letters Lamed and Kaf, as it is not proper for the world to be without a king. Okay, so the letter Mem is basically Hesed, the letter Lamed is Bina, and Kaf is Hogma. So those are the aspects that we're talking about here. The letter Mem, like I mentioned, is Hesed or Zeir Anpin of Atzilut. And this letter receives the light from its corresponding Sephirah, which is Hesed in Bina. So Hesed receives the light from the Hesed of Bina. So remember, here inside there's another tree of life, and from there basically all these aspects that feel the creation below comes from. So imagine, there's a little tree of life in there, like that. Okay, and from this Hesed in here, this Hesed receives some of the aspects. In addition to the light of mercy, in the state of Katnut, Zeir Anpin received the light of wisdom when it becomes in the state of Katlut, which is a big state, which everything is filled with the light. The Sephirot Hagat, which is Chesed, Geburah, and Tiferet, turn into Sephirot Hogma, Bin, and Da'at, because they get basically elevated into that level. In other words, Chesed in Zeir Anpin ascends to become Hogma, and in this way it reveals a new light, the light of Hogma, and the light of the Creator's face. And this is why the letter Mem claimed that it was suitable for the world to be created by it, because it can reveal the light of the Creator to the world, eliminating any risk of impure forces to cling to it, and in this way guarantee the full correction of the whole system. But the Creator said that it's forbidden to reveal the light to the world, for the world needs this light to first clothe itself in 3 letters, the letters of the word Melech. In other words, the great light may be revealed in the world only if Mem joins together with Lamed and Kaf. Okay, so you got only if Hesed joins together with Bina and Hogma. And remember, Bina and Hogma is Ava Ve'ima. When they turn face to face, the light of Hogma gets wrapped around by the light of mercy. And which Sephir is the first one to receive the light? Is going to be Hesed. And Hesed is represented by Mem. Okay. Mem in the word Melech is Chesed, Lamed is Bina, which passes the light to Zeir Anpin. The letter Kaf is Malchut and Nukba Zeir Anpin, but there cannot be a Melech without Malchut, without kingdom. Also, all the light becomes revealed only thanks to Malchut. And now you go like, it doesn't make sense. You're saying here that it's a Hogma, Bina, and Chesed, and here Baal HaSulam is saying that Melech is Chesed, Lamed is Bina. Okay, we got that right? Which passes the light to Zeir Anpin. The letter Kaf, which is this one, is Hogma, is Malchut, which is Nukba of Zeir Anpin. So this light is this here, and then it says there cannot be a Melech without a kingdom. But you gotta see what letter is Kaf. Let me see if I can because in Hebrew there's that's one of the letters that has a end letter to it. It's like this one. That's basically the Kapsopit, the ending of that letter. Let's see if I can get the right typeface so I can see it better. That's how it looks. Don't confuse it with the Dalet of the resh. This is a chaf. This is a regular chaf. This is a sofit. In the end of the word melech, that's what you're gonna find. Okay. There you go, melech. So the reason why this is called Malchut or Nukba of Zeir Anpin is because it reaches all the way down. It reaches, to this level. Just like this letter here, like Tav could have reached, to the red bar that represents here the clifford. This letter reaches, down as well. It's just a symbolism, the form that will give you the hints of what's happening. In this case, Malchut shines from Zeir Anpin in 3 places. Malchut becomes a seat, a kiseh, a throne for a king, which is Zeir Anpin. So Malchut becomes, the throne for the Melech, which is Zeir Anpin. Kiseh comes from the word kizui, which means concealment, cover. So it is designated by the bent letter K, okay, by this letter. Malchut clothes Zeir Anpin because the great light is revealed only to Israel. Malchut clothes Zeir Anpin, and when her kingdom is revealed, Malchut, right? Malchut kingdom is revealed, Zeir Anpin liberates itself from her garment and throw it over the nations of the world, those who worship idols, and the light of her face pours upon Israel. And all the righteous then point their fingers at the Creator and say, "This is the Creator to whom I aspire." This diffusion of light is designated by the letter chaf. The third one is Malchut becomes a crown, a keter, right? Crown of the head of Zeir Anpin, and this is a property of the letter chaf, of keter, crown of Zeir Anpin. So now you see Malchut and keter, okay? One below is the seat of Zeir Anpin, the one above is the crown of Zeir Anpin. And this is designated by the letter K. Now, when these letter words basically, dismiss, the letter Kaf descended from the throne, the kiseh, of his glory, of the Creator's glory, shaking and trembling. He stood before him and said, "Master of the universe, may it please you to create the world with me, because I am your glory, Kavod." When the letter Kaf descended from the throne of his glory, 200,000 worlds were shaken and the throne trembled, and all the worlds were about to collapse. The Holy One, blessed is he, told it, "Kaf, Kaf, what are you doing here? I shall indeed not create the world with you. Go back to your place, because the word destruction, klaya, starts with you, a decree of destruction upon all the land. So return to your throne and stay there." At that same moment, it took leave and returned to its place. So, the Creator's throne is in the world of Bria. Okay? The appearance of the letter Mem before the Creator led to the letter Kaf basically to fall from the throne of the Creator. As a result, Hogma and Bina of the world of Bria were shaken, they trembled, as well as all the lower worlds and the inhabitants. And the arguments that all these letters basically were raising is to which the world to be created, with them. Basically, each of them is like raising man. It's a request for help for the precise help from above, which is called the upper light, as a response, to their request, which is mad, mein duchim. If it is like that, the letters are requesting that light. They're requesting, this. Then Son, which is Zeir Anpin Nuva, will rule the world, and this rule will be affected by the light descending to Zon, and it's gonna be in the exact quantity or by the exact measurement of that request. And in this case, because each letter is requesting its own thing, that's the kind of answer that they're gonna receive, right? And what's happening is that the response is according to the property of each letter. And this is why each letter argues that it can draw the kind of light from above that will surely bring all the creatures, to the final goal. So the creator's answer to these 22 letters and inside the zone, right, of Atzilut is basically, or is considered, the mein duchim, right, that we have talked before. So what's happening is the letters are doing that request to the creator, do it with me, this is why, and that kind of stuff. And the answer from the creator is based in the qualities of that letter. But if that letter doesn't have the proper qualities, then the work cannot be created but with this letter. But this letter is a foundation for something else, something that will be used in the future, because each letter is somehow useful. So this is when we read before, when it says that the creator play with the letters, it's basically with this conversation he saw each quality of each letter, and he saw which letter was gonna be the letter that was going to constitute the quality of certain things in creation. Okay, and this is why we see that when the letter men began to reveal the great light in the world, in doing so it caused a fall from the kiseh, from the throne. And this is so because this kiseh has two properties. It covers and conceals the creator, where the word kiseh derives from the word kisui, which is covering, right? It reveals the creator's greatness in the worlds with the help of the three letters Melech. Then Malchut, that became a kisui, a covering, right? The creator's cover, ascends and turns to chaf, the creator's own garment, thus revealing the king or the creator, and he becomes a crown in his head. But as soon as the letter mem, which was not clothed in chaf, began to reveal the light of the creator's face, the letter chaf fell from the kiseh, from the throne of glory, stopped, concealed him, and stated that from now on only the creator's revealed glory will rule over it, without any kind of concealment, as desired by men. Because of chaf falling from the throne, 200,000 words that originated from Hogma and Bina of the word of Bria, as well as the word below them, trembled. They were shaken, almost collapsing, and the entire connection between the lower and the upper parsufim was also shaken. The properties of the letter Kaf consist of clothing Malchut of an upper spiritual object, in Keter of a lower one. There are three features to the throne. The first one is 6 steps leading to the throne, 6 Sefirot, which are Chesed Geburah Tifaret Nesachot Yesod of the lower one. The second one is 4 legs of the throne, the light in Sefirot Keter, Hogma, Bina, and that of the lower one. And the third one is Malchut of the upper one that descends to the lower one, clothes into it, and all the light from the upper one is passed through her to the lower one. The letter Kaf, this is the reason the letter Kaf fell from the throne of the Creator's glory, because the connection between the world of Atzilut and the throne, which is the world of Bria, was severed. This is Atzilut here, and this is where the world of Bria is, below the Parsa. So there's something happened here, right, which we saw there, and the light is of above is concealed from the below, and above something happened that the below ones are kind of concealed, right? The kafir from the throne of the Creator's glory, the connection between Atzilut and the throne of Bria was severed. And this happened because Kaf, which is Malchut of the world of Atzilut, which is, around this area here, right? That closes Sefirot Keter, Hogma, Bina, Da'ah, the world of Bria. That's why, even though it says Malchut here, I have Keter, and then the 9 lower Sefirot, they're distributed in those 3 words of Bria, Yesir, and Asiyah. This Sefirah Keter, Hogma, Bina, Da'ah of the world of Bria pours all the light into the world of Bria, called the throne of glory. But when Kaf fell from the throne, the connection between Atzilut and Bria was basically destroyed. Or there was a fissure, Kaf trembled because he lost the power to bestow to Bria. And 200,000 words, meaning Hogma and Bina, out of Sefirot Keter, Hogma, Bina, Da'at, and the word Bria, tremble as well, and almost collapsing. They lost the life force that they received from the world of Atzilut. In the same way, in the world of Atzilut, Bina, or the world of Atzilut, the Creator, remember the Creator is Bina, is connected with Zon. Bina is connected with Zon, which is Zeir Anpin Malchut. And this is because this Parsuf Bina of the world of Atzilut contains 10 Sefirot, and the last Sefirot Malchut closes Zeir Anpin of the world of Atzilut with the property of the letter Kaf. And Malchut of the Sefirah Bina that closes in Zeir Anpin of the letter with the letter Kaf. This letter Kaf is the Creator's throne in Zeir Anpin. For the Creator is Bina, Sefirah is Bina, which is the Sefirah above Zeir Anpin, and Zeir Anpin becomes a throne for Bina. And during the fall, the connection between Bina and Zeir Anpin was also severed. There was a fissure in there. Since Kaf is Malchut of Bina, it closes into Zeir Anpin and passes all the light to him. So basically, it's like what happened when Kaf did that is like all these words in here, somehow they were disconnected because the Malchut became disconnected, because the Malchut here is basically like it says here, is the throne for Bina in Zeir Anpin. So you eliminate that, and it's like you're basically creating like a space in all this, and they don't receive the light, therefore they tremble, they feel like they're dying, right? And this is why it says, that therefore they tremble, they lost the ability to bestow to Zeir Anpin, and 200,000 words, which are the light of Zeir Anpin, called Hogma and Bina of Keter, Hogma, Bina, and Da'at, the 4 legs of the throne, for all the light departed from them, and the word tremble, almost collapsing. The Creator told the letter Kaf that because it fell from the throne of His glory, the first 3 Sefirot of Zeir Anpin tremble. This is Chesed, Geburat, Tifaret, and all of the words are on the verge of total collapse and destruction without any hope of restoration. Therefore, chaf needed to go back to its place in the throne of glory. Chaf returned to the place in the Creator's thrones, and then the Creator refuses to use the letter chaf and refuses to create the world with the letter mem as well, for the world needs a king, a Melech, right? That is, the trembling of the letter chaf as it fell from the Creator's throne, which in turn made the worlds tremble in fear and possible collapse. And the Creator's answer to the letter mem transpire simultaneously, so mem, lamed, chaf, melech. Very important that those letters work together in order to transmit light to the creation. So basically what's happening here is that this letter, which all of them to be used individually, but in reality they, in this case, they need to work together. They support something. A Melech, he said, the throne, that kind of stuff. It's like hints of this system in the open realm that is supported by the qualities of these letters. Okay, and we have time to go with the letter Yod, just as we planned. So let's go to the letter Yod. The letter Yod entered, stood before him, and said, Master of the universe, may it please you to create a word with me, because I am the first letter of the holy name. Thus, it should be proper for you to create a word with me. He replied, it should suffice you to be engraved upon my name and appear in me. You embrace all my desires. Rise up. It will not be proper for you to be removed from my name. So the letter Yod cannot be used because it's the first letter of the Creator's name, the Yod, He, and the Vav, He. Okay, the letter Yod is basically Keter. Okay, the letter Yod argues that the word should be created with it because through it the whole correction can happen. But the Creator said, the letters, basically this letter, it cannot be removed from his name. It's important for this letter to be in his name. So by telling Yod it is sufficient, the Creator is explaining basically it's explained that the creation or it's explaining basically the concept of restriction, right? That the light will be only allowed to descend to its level, but not further. This restriction is fixed in the Creator's name, Shaddai, as we spoke in previous class. The letter Shin here in Yesod of Malchut of Atzilut. That's where the light is gonna stop, die. It's enough. Not from here, you don't move forward. Shaddai. After you begin to spread into the great light, the Creator stop it and forbidding it to spread lower to the letter Tav, which is a Malchut of Atzilut. But only the Shin is the one that receives that light, and it stops there. Basically, he said to it, enough, and do not spread further, otherwise you will not be able to remain forever in my name, Havaya, the Yod, He, and the Vav, and the He. As the sages said, my name is not pronounced as it is written, for it is written Havaya, but pronounced Adonai. This is from Talmud, Pesachim 50. Indeed, this name, the Yod, He, and the Vav, and the He, is not subject to change, as it is written, for I, the Lord, do not change. For corruption and its correction emerge in the days of the world of existence, meaning that constant changes are coming. Therefore, until the end of correction, the Creator is called Adonai. For this name is subject to change, and not Yod, He, and the Vav, and the He, Havaya, which can never be altered. It's the same, right? In the future, after the end of correction, this name, the Yod, He, and the Vav, and the He, will be pronounced as it is written. Therefore the Creator said, if I see some fault or evil in you, by this you will be removed from my name. For my name, Yod, He, and the Vav and the He may not contain anything flawed or corrected, neither corruption nor correction. And this is why the word cannot be created by your properties. There are 3 degrees in the letter Yod of the name Havaya and the Sephirah Hogma of Zeir Anpin. In Hogma of Abi and in Hogma of Anpin called concealed wisdom. So now we're talking, about the different Hogma in all these levels here. The Havaya, the Yod head and the Vav and the head begins with a dot, which then turns into a Yod, then the Yod, which is the or Hogma, spread to the sides and downwards and turns into a letter Dalet, which consists of horizontal roof-like lines that indicate the property of Bina, which is mercy, Hasidim. When all Hasidim stop spreading and in width, or Hogma begins to spread downward to the form of a vertical line. This is the leg of the letter Dalet, the property of Hogma, which is Ava. The common property of Avi is designated by the letter Dalet. Avi begets Zeir Anpin. In other words, Ava Ve'ima, it's the creator of Zeir Anpin, okay? Designated by the letter Vav inside the Dalet, and eventually form the shape of the letter He. Thus, the request of Zeir Anpin, which is the Vav, to receive from Ava Ve'ima compels them to unite their properties of a vertical line and a horizontal line. The vertical line is Hogma, the horizontal line is Hasidim, which is Bina. With the help of the letter Yod, consequently, Ava Ve'ima receives life from the Yod and passes it to Zeir Anpin. The screen, I want to make sure you understand when it says with the screen is the intention, the desire, the characteristic desire in the vessel, in Malchut, is called a point, a nekudah. Since the collision between the screen and the common light years returning light, and let me see if I have that here. This is the screen, the Masah, and this is the Or Yashar. When it comes, the light comes in, it hits the screen and then it gets rejected as Or Hoser, reflected light, and then what is not used is Or Makif, which is surrounding light inside the vessel, right? So between the screen, basically, the point of the screen with the desired mark is called a point, since the collision between the screen and the common light years, this returning light, which is the altruistic actions of the vessel. And since the received light always consists of 10 lights, the screen is called 10 points. The Yod designates the spreading of Nekudot inside Parsuf Keter from the light of Hogma downwards, while Vav designates the spreading of Nekudot inside Parsuf Hogma. However, there is no sign of the Yod He and the Vav He that indicates the diffusion of light in Keter. So now, the entering or exit of this letter, the Yod, in a word signifies either presence or absence of Or Hogma. Therefore, are 4 kinds of correction. The first Ibur, the first conception of the small state of Zon, the small state of Zeir Anpin and Nukba. Over here. This is an absolutely passive spiritual state where the letter Yod enters the word Or, right? And transform it into Avir, becoming the Vak of the Parsuf. Let me here. See if I can. Okay, so we have or, and then the yod within becomes, Avir. And this becomes the vag of the parsu. Vag of the parsu means the 7 lower ones, which is the zone. The letter yod exits the word Avir, which converts it back to or. The light of Hogma enters vag. So the letter yod, let's say, disappear, and that's or again. So the light of Hogma enters the 7 lower ones in the parsu. The second conception, the second ibur, is a conception of the state of greatness, the gadlut, the adulthood of Zon, Zeir Anpin, and Menupa. The ahab of Bina, and then ahab of Bina, as you guys should know, is basically the vessels of reception, but of Bina. The ahab of Bina ascends from Zon to Bina, and the Gagaltanaim de Zon, the Zeir Anpin, and Nupa, they also have, Gagaltanaims within them. Not only we're gonna see, Gagaltanaim in this way, but imagine every parsuf has a Ketechov, Bina, Zeir Anpin, Malchut. So every parsuf is gonna have a Gagaltanaim and a ahab. Okay, inside this ahab, Zeir Anpin is gonna have a Gagaltanaim and a ahab. The same thing with Malchut. Malchut in here is going to have Gagaltanaim and a half. So everything is like a fractal repetition, right? So the second ibur, which is a conception in Gadlut, which is a adulthood of the stable Zon, ahab of Bina ascend from Zon to Bina, and Gagaltanaim the Zon ascend with them. For they were together in the Katnut, in the smallness, right? Defined as conception of Gagaltanaim the Zon. Now, the fourth is the diffusion of the light of Hogma. Okay, so this is the 4 kinds of correction there. And I know this is hard to understand, so I'm trying to understand this thing. This is a more advanced Kabbalah, you can then explain in another hour what I just said there about these 4 kinds of correction. It will take 2 hours to actually explain that. That's how deep it is. Because it's all about the dynamics of how this system works, how these parsufim basically transfer light from one to the other in order to bring correction to the world. Okay, all right, so this is it for now. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson. The next lesson, we're finally gonna be able to start with the inner aspect of Zeir Anpin of Atzilut. We already covered the letters of Malchut of Atzilut. We covered the letters that are of the qualities of the outer aspects of Zeir Anpin of Atzilut. The next, we're going to be in the inner aspects of Atzilut as we continue studying the article of the Zohar inside the prologue called The Letters of Rabbi Hamnuna Saba. And hopefully finish that by the next class, in order to enter then to what is called the article called Supernal Wisdom, and then we can go to the lock and the key, which is a concept that we have actually touched before in another previous lesson. Okay, so as always, lessons are free. The only way that you can actually give back is by sharing these videos to people that cannot afford to pay money to take these classes in some other organizations. And also you can actually give back by liking it, put like, or subscribing. The more likes and subscription we have, the more people are gonna see these videos. That's how the algorithm of YouTube works. But if you are or are in a group of people that are interested in taking these classes, just let me know. Go to www.receivingtheupperlight and go to contact and send me a message, and we can get in contact and see, if you have any questions or anything like that, you can go there and also ask them. But share the website, share these videos, and share the Facebook group, and that way we can continue with this work and spreading the light for free, okay, without spending too much money on something that shouldn't be sold, the way that has been sold out there. All right, so this is all. I'll see you in the next lesson when we cover the inner aspect of Zeir Anpin of Asilut. I'll see you then. Shalom.